Carol Burnett is a name synonymous with comedy and charm, but even she had her breaking points. When cast alongside a co-star who seemed perfect on paper, the reality was far from it. Their on-set feud became the stuff of legend, filled with tension, drama, and unforgettable confrontations. Let's take a closer look at what really went down when Carol Burnett faced her toughest co-star, the casting decision. The show that paired Carol Burnett with a co-star she would grow to hate was The Carol Burnett Show, a sketch comedy television program that premiered on CBS in 1967. The show was an immediate success, quickly becoming a staple of American television. However, behind the scenes, tensions were brewing. In the early stages, the producers needed to find a supporting cast that could complement her dynamic presence. Harvey Korman was cast as the primary male lead. Korman, known for his work on The Danny Kaye Show, brought a wealth of experience and a reputation for his comedic talents. His casting was initially seen as a perfect match for Burnett's style. Burnett and Korman had different approaches to comedy. She thrived on spontaneity and improvisation, often finding humor in the moment. Korman, on the other hand, preferred a more structured, rehearsed approach. This difference in style was apparent from the beginning. During their first table read, his meticulous nature clashed with Burnett's free-spirited energy. Tensions became evident during rehearsals. Korman's frustration with Burnett's improvisations began to show. He felt they disrupted the flow and undermined the structured humor he favored. Burnett, in turn, found his rigidity stifling. Despite these early signs of conflict, both were professionals. They managed to create comedy gold on screen. Their chemistry was undeniable, and audiences loved their performances. However, the friction behind the scenes was growing. Vicki Lawrence, another cast member, later recalled, "There were days when you could cut the tension with a knife. Carol and Harvey had very different ways of working, and sometimes it got heated." The show's success meant that they had to continue working closely. Despite their personal differences, the pressure to deliver high-quality performances kept them both in check. Ratings soared, and the show received multiple awards, including 25 Primetime Emmy Awards over its 11-year run. The first day on set of The Carol Burnett Show was filled with excitement and anticipation. Carol Burnett, fresh off her success from The Gary Moore Show, was ready to lead her own program. Harvey Korman, with his extensive experience in comedy, was expected to bring a level of professionalism and talent that would elevate the show. The day began with introductions and a tour of the set. Burnett, ever the gracious host, welcomed everyone with her characteristic warmth and humor. Korman, known for his sharp wit and sometimes sarcastic humor, appeared slightly reserved. The initial meeting was cordial, but there were hints of the underlying differences that would later cause friction. The first rehearsal started smoothly. The cast read through the script, and Burnett's improvisational style quickly became apparent. She loved to ad-lib, adding spontaneous jokes and gestures that weren't in the script. This approach had worked well for her in the past, and it brought a fresh, unpredictable energy to the scenes. Korman, however, preferred to stick to the script. He believed in the importance of precise timing and delivery, which required rehearsing lines as written. During the first rehearsal, he patiently delivered his lines, but his frustration was palpable when Burnett deviated from the script. One specific incident occurred during the rehearsal of a skit where she played a cleaning lady, and Korman was a snooty customer. Burnett added an unexpected slapstick moment, causing the crew to burst into laughter. Korman, however, didn't find it amusing. He stopped mid-scene and said, "Carol, we need to stick to the script if we want this to work." Burnett, not one to back down, responded with a smile. "Harvey, a little spontaneity never hurt anyone." The tension was obvious, but the rehearsal continued. Other cast members, including Vicki Lawrence and Lyle Waggoner, sensed the strain. Lawrence later commented, "It was clear from the start that Carol's spontaneity clashed with Harvey's precision." Despite the friction, the first day concluded with a successful run-through of the skits. The professional facade was maintained, and the show's producers were pleased with what they saw. They believed the chemistry between Burnett and Korman, despite the underlying tension, would translate into great television. Early tensions. As the weeks turned into months on The Carol Burnett Show, the initial excitement began to wane, revealing deeper tensions between Carol Burnett and Harvey Korman. Their contrasting comedic styles started to create friction that couldn't be ignored. Burnett's beloved character, the charwoman, often involved physical comedy and improvised interactions with other characters. In one particular skit, she decided to add an unscripted gag where she would accidentally knock over a vase. This moment, while hilarious to the audience, threw Corman off his meticulously prepared routine. During the rehearsal, Corman stopped the scene abruptly, visibly frustrated. "Carol, we can't keep changing things at the last minute," he said. Burnett, trying to keep the mood light, responded, "Harvey, it's just a bit of fun. The audience loves it." Despite her reassurances, Corman's irritation was clear. The tension escalated further during a rehearsal for another skit where Corman played a frustrated boss and Burnett his mischievous secretary. His anger boiled over one day when he snapped, "Carol, you're making it impossible to stay in character." Burnett, taken aback but maintaining her composure, replied, "Harvey, the unpredictability is what makes it funny." The crew began to notice these frequent clashes. Director Dave Powers often had to mediate, trying to balance the creative inputs from both stars. Harvey was very particular about timing, Powers recalled in an interview, while Carol thrived on the unexpected. It was a challenge to keep both happy. Despite these efforts, the atmosphere on set grew more strained. Their professional relationship was further strained by the show's demanding schedule. Producing a weekly variety show required long hours and intense rehearsals. The pressure to deliver consistently high-quality performances added to the stress. Both stars were perfectionists in their own ways, which sometimes led to explosive confrontations. Despite these early tensions, the show continued to thrive. Their on-screen chemistry remained intact, even as the off-screen relationship grew more contentious. Audiences loved the dynamic between Burnett and Corman, unaware of the turmoil behind the scenes. Public versus private interactions. The contrast between Carol Burnett and Harvey Korman's public interactions and private tensions became more apparent as The Carol Burnett Show continued its run. While audiences saw seamless performances and palpable chemistry, the reality behind the scenes was starkly different. On screen, they delivered unforgettable performances. Their comedic timing appeared impeccable, and their skits often became the highlight of the show. One particularly memorable skit involved Burnett's character Eunice arguing with Corman's Ed. The intensity and humor of their exchanges captivated viewers, making it one of the show's most beloved routines. Off-screen, however, preparing for such scenes often led to heated debates. During public appearances and interviews, both stars maintained a professional front. They would often speak highly of each other's talents, giving no indication of the underlying strife. In a 1970 interview, Burnett praised Corman, saying, "Harvey is a comic genius. Working with him is a delight." He reciprocated in a similar interview, calling her an unparalleled talent in comedy. However, behind closed doors, their interactions were less cordial. Crew members frequently witnessed their disagreements during rehearsals. One instance involved a skit where Burnett's character was supposed to slap Corman's character lightly. During rehearsal, her playful slap was harder than expected, causing Corman to react angrily. "Carol, that's not in the script," he snapped, to which she responded, "It's called acting, Harvey." One revealing moment came during an Emmy Awards ceremony. The show had won multiple Emmys, and Burnett and Corman were both honored. On stage, they embraced and exchanged pleasantries, a picture of camaraderie. However, backstage, the atmosphere was noticeably colder. An assistant recalled, "They barely spoke to each other backstage. The smiles were for the cameras. The major blow-up." The tension between the two had been simmering for years. It finally reached a boiling point during the production of a particularly demanding episode of The Carol Burnett Show. The incident that became known as the major blow-up was a turning point in their relationship, leaving an indelible mark on the show's history. The episode in question featured a complex skit requiring precise timing and coordination. Burnett's character, a bumbling housewife, was supposed to interact with Corman's character, her overbearing husband, in a series of quick exchanges. The rehearsal for this skit was fraught with difficulties from the start. During one rehearsal, Burnett decided to change a key part of the routine, adding an impromptu joke she thought would enhance the scene. Corman, already on edge, exploded. He stopped the rehearsal abruptly, shouting, "Carol, this is ridiculous. We have a script for a reason." His outburst stunned the cast and crew, who had never seen him lose his temper so dramatically. Burnett, taken aback by the intensity of Corman's reaction, tried to defuse the situation, but he was beyond reasoning. "No, Carol, this isn't just about fun. It's about doing our jobs professionally," he retorted, storming off the set. The immediate aftermath was chaotic. Directors and producers scrambled to calm both stars. The crew was left in an uneasy silence, unsure how to proceed. One crew member later remarked, "It was like watching a volcano erupt. You knew something was coming, but the force of it was still shocking." After this confrontation, the atmosphere on set changed. Rehearsals became more tense, with both stars walking on eggshells around each other. The directors implemented stricter schedules, hoping to minimize opportunities for conflict. Despite these efforts, the underlying tension was palpable. In the days following the blow-up, Burnett and Corman had a private meeting, arranged by the producers, to try and resolve their issues. The meeting was reportedly strained, with both expressing their grievances but failing to find common ground. The ripple effect on the cast and crew. The fallout from the major blow-up between Carol Burnett and Harvey Korman sent ripples throughout the entire production of The Carol Burnett Show. The cast and crew, once a tight-knit group, now found themselves navigating a more tense and uncertain environment. Vicki Lawrence, who played Burnett's sister in many skits, felt the impact immediately. "The mood on set changed overnight," she later recalled. "You could feel the tension in the air. It was hard to stay focused when two of our leaders were at odds." Lawrence often found herself in the middle, trying to maintain a positive atmosphere despite the growing discord. The directors and producers also faced new challenges. Director Dave Powers had to adjust his approach to manage rehearsals more carefully. "We had to be very strategic," Powers said. "Keeping the peace became part of the job. We needed both Carol and Harvey at their best, but it was clear they were struggling to work together." One noticeable change was the way rehearsals were structured. To avoid direct confrontations, scenes involving Burnett and Corman were scheduled separately whenever possible. This logistical maneuvering added complexity to the production schedule and increased pressure on the crew to ensure everything ran smoothly. The crew members, from camera operators to costume designers, were affected as well. Bob Mackie, the show's renowned costume designer, noted the shift in dynamics. "Everyone felt like they had to walk on eggshells," Mackie said. "The spontaneity and fun that characterized our early days were harder to come by." Despite these challenges, the professionalism of the entire team ensured that the quality of the show remained high. The audience continued to see the seamless performances and hilarious skits they had come to love. However, the cost of maintaining this facade was significant. Crew members often worked longer hours to accommodate the new rehearsal schedules, and the emotional toll of the ongoing tension was felt by all. Lyle Waggoner, another key cast member, observed, "We were like a family, but now it felt like our parents were fighting. It was tough to keep the energy up, but we all knew the show had to go on." This sentiment was shared by many who found solace in the camaraderie of their colleagues despite the underlying stress. Media speculation. As rumors began to swirl, the press latched onto the story, adding fuel to an already volatile situation. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, celebrity gossip was a burgeoning industry. Publications like Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, and TV Guide closely followed the personal lives of stars, eager to uncover any hint of scandal. It wasn't long before whispers of discord on The Carol Burnett Show reached the public. The first reports were subtle, hinting at creative differences between Burnett and Corman. An article in TV Guide from 1970 noted, "Behind the laughter of America's favorite sketch comedy show, tensions simmer as its leading stars wrestle with differing comedic visions." This kind of vague language kept audiences intrigued without revealing the full extent of the conflict. As time went on, the stories became more specific. Tabloids began running pieces with headlines like, "Tensions on the set of The Carol Burnett Show," and "Comedy stars clash behind the scenes." These articles often relied on anonymous sources from within the production team, who described the atmosphere as tense and fraught with disagreements. The speculation reached a peak following the major blow-up during the demanding episode. The incident was leaked to the press, with various publications reporting on the confrontation. One particularly sensational article claimed, "Harvey Korman storms off set after heated argument with Carol Burnett." Although exaggerated, these stories captured the public's imagination and fueled further speculation. One of the first major reconciliation attempts occurred during the show's 4th season. Joe Hamilton, the show's producer and Burnett's husband at the time, arranged a private meeting between them. The goal was to create a space where both could express their grievances and find common ground. Hamilton believed that a candid conversation might help bridge the gap. During this meeting, both stars laid their cards on the table. Despite the honest exchange, the meeting ended without a clear resolution. Both stars agreed to try and be more considerate of each other's styles, but the underlying issues remained unresolved. The producers continued to monitor the situation closely, hoping that time and mutual respect would gradually ease the tension. Another attempt at reconciliation involved bringing in a professional mediator. This mediator, experienced in conflict resolution within high-stress environments, conducted several sessions with Burnett and Corman. The sessions focused on improving communication and finding ways to collaborate more effectively. While these sessions were somewhat helpful in the short term, they did not lead to a lasting solution. The stress of maintaining a professional facade also took a toll on both stars. Burnett, known for her cheerful and energetic persona, began to show signs of strain. Friends and colleagues noticed that she was more subdued off-camera. Corman, too, felt the pressure, often retreating into his dressing room between takes to avoid further confrontations. Despite these challenges, there were moments when their mutual respect and shared history shone through. During one particularly tough rehearsal, Burnett fell ill and had to take a break. Corman, concerned, visited her dressing room to check on her. "Take care of yourself, Carol. The show needs you," he said. This brief moment of compassion reminded both of the bond they had formed over the years, even if it was currently strained. The show's writers and directors also played a role in these reconciliation efforts. Scripts were adjusted to accommodate both stars' preferences, with a balance of structured scenes and opportunities for improvisation. Directors made efforts to praise both contributions equally, hoping to foster a more collaborative spirit. Despite these efforts, the fundamental differences in their comedic styles continued to create friction. The next significant attempt at reconciliation came during a special anniversary episode. The producers planned a tribute segment that highlighted the best moments of Burnett and Corman's on-screen partnership. Watching the montage, which featured their funniest and most memorable skits, both stars were reminded of the magic they could create together. For a brief period, this nostalgic reflection brought them closer, rekindling some of the camaraderie from their early days. However, as the routine pressures of production resumed, the old tensions quickly resurfaced. Departure and aftermath. As the show progressed, both stars navigated their strained relationship, but the friction had lasting effects. Burnett's career flourished despite the ongoing tension. Her versatility and comedic talent were undeniable, earning her numerous accolades, including 5 Golden Globe Awards and 6 Primetime Emmy Awards for her work on the show. Her ability to improvise kept the show fresh and engaging for its audience. Corman also maintained his reputation as a talented comedic actor, winning 4 Primetime Emmy Awards for his work on the show. However, the constant battles with Burnett took a toll. In 1977, after 10 successful years, Corman decided to leave. "It was time for me to move on. The creative differences were too significant to ignore," he later reflected. Corman pursued other projects, including a successful partnership with comedian Tim Conway. The duo starred in films like The Apple Dumpling Gang, showcasing his comedic talents in a new light. His post-show career demonstrated his ability to thrive away from the shadow of his tumultuous relationship with Burnett. For Burnett, Corman's departure was a significant challenge. She had to adapt to the absence of a key player who had been integral to the show's success. New cast members, including Dick Van Dyke, tried to fill the void, but the unique dynamic between Burnett and Corman was irreplaceable. However, the show continued to be successful, thanks in large part to the talent and resilience of Carol Burnett and the rest of the cast, including new members who joined after Corman's departure. The show ran for another 2 years after Corman left, concluding in 1978. Despite the challenges, The Carol Burnett Show remains a legendary piece of television history, fondly remembered for its humor, innovation, and the incredible chemistry of its cast. They occasionally reunited for special appearances, including anniversary specials and televised retrospectives. These reunions allowed them to reconnect and reminisce about their time together. The Carol Burnett Show remains a legendary piece of television history, fondly remembered for its humor, innovation, and the incredible chemistry of its cast. When Corman passed away in 2008, Burnett paid a heartfelt tribute to her former co-star. Harvey was a brilliant comedian and a dear friend. We had our differences, but I will always cherish the laughter we shared and the incredible work we did together.